Revolutionary greetings, comrades. One comrade in one of the chat groups where I am in asked about our statement as the Zimbabwe Communist Party following the death of Queen Elizabeth II. I said to the comrade and the other comrades in that chat group that we will be guided by the Communist Party of Britain. We have a Communist Party in Britain, so we take the lead because they are in the United Kingdom and they are closer to what is happening. The Young Communist League of Britain has indeed issued a press statement, and this video is to discuss the press statement by the Young Communist League of Britain, issued by is issued properly by the Central Committee of the Young Communist League following the death of Elizabeth Windsor. And it says, the statement says, the death of Elizabeth Windsor highlights to our generation and the working people across Britain that the abolition of the monarchy remains a pressing and an important issue. And this is our position as the Zimbabwe Communist Party. We are not calling only the abolition of the monarchy in Britain, but monarchies across the globe. That's our position. It is fundamentally clear now more than ever that Britain must become a modern republic. A tiny interbreeding sect of a decaying aristocracy cannot and will never reflect the interests of working people in Britain. Remember that the monarch is not elected. The head of the monarch and members of the royal family are not elected. The imposition of an obscenely wealthy, unrepresentative, unelected head of state is offensive to all working people. But this is not just a matter of important democratic and egalitarian principles. This monarchy continues to be an important symbol and tool of the British state and its apparatus for maintaining control. Despite all the talk to the contrary, the monarchy continues to hold significant power under Britain's broken constitution, including the selection of governments, and they will remain a perpetual danger to democratic and social progress while that remains the case. I'm reading from the statement of the Young Communist League of Britain. The royal family's wealth and the crown estates, vast tracts of land and resources across Britain, are centuries of stolen wealth from the working people of this country and the oppressed and exploited peoples in Britain's colonies. Indeed, we agree with this statement, with this part in the statement. Our mineral resources, not only in Zimbabwe, but across the what is called former British colonies, were taken by the royal family, which the late Queen has been head for the last 70 years. The monarchy's position as the head of state, not just of Britain, but of various former colonies, and as head of the Commonwealth, plays an important symbolic and ideological role in maintaining British imperialism around the world. Some comrades were saying to us that we have been quiet. This is their understanding, that we have been quiet in speaking about the issues that we are now raising. And the comrades are saying, Singamagwala, why did we wait for the Queen to die for us to raise these issues? We've always maintained that we are engaged in a class struggle, that we are anti-imperialist. And in the case of Zimbabwe, we have opposed the rejoining of the British Commonwealth by the Zimbabwean government. And this is what we've been saying, that it is wrong for the administration of President Emmerson Mnangagwa to seek to rejoin the Commonwealth. We have no business to do with the Commonwealth. And we need to rebuild our economy outside the influence of the imperialist forces. Maybe the comrades do not understand or did not understand when we spoke about imperialism, its source, and how imperialism has destroyed our communities. We do not blame them. Ours is to continue to educate. And we have defined the struggle in Zimbabwe as a struggle against imperialism and what we now call the looting class. The statement by the Young Comms League of Britain continues. Britain's state and monopoly media already have and they will continue to canonize Elizabeth Windsor as a tireless public servant. No one can genuinely define public service as new working a single. Sorry, I'll repeat. No one can genuinely define public service as never working a single day in your 96 years on earth and living in obscene wealth every day while surrounded by poverty and never doing anything to change it. Indeed, the royal family and the other royal families across the globe have never tried to address inequality in their communities. They want to live off the resources of the people. The statement continues. Elizabeth Windsor never criticized Britain's racist colonial empire. She never criticized or apologized for her notoriously racist husband. She never shied away from consulting with detectives in the interest of the British state. She used public money to fund the legal defense of her pedophile son. Elizabeth Windsor is also a symbol of the archaic, corrupt and racist institution. Hers is also the arrogance of hereditary and unchecked power and wealth. Reading this statement as I continue to read, it's like one is reading a statement in reference to the monarch in Swaziland, which continues to oppress the people of Swaziland. And the royal family is rich beyond belief. Britain's ruling class, through the state and the media, will try to use this death to distract from the so-called cost of living crisis and rising industrial militants and undermine strike action. Remember that workers in Britain have been on strike. We can't allow their calls for unity and the respect, which are in reality demands for class collaboration, to succeed. Charles should never become king. Elizabeth's death should be the death of the monarch itself. And here are the demands of the Britain's communists. 1. The immediate abolition of the monarch and its replacement with a democratically elected head of state. The Queen and now the King is the head of state, is not elected. The people of Britain elect the head of government, not the head of state. And the British royal family, its head is the head of state of a number of countries across the globe, about 15 or so. Second demand, The nationalization of the Crown Estate and the expropriation of the personal wealth of the royal family for the public good. I have seen in a number of messages circulating about the diamond that I think is used in one of the Queen's heads or regalia, whatever you call it, or crown, that is worth over 350 million US dollars. And in one, I think it was on Facebook, responding to someone who had posted this, that the problem that we then have in Africa is that we chase each other. I said the problem that we have in the context of South Africa is that we are chasing black people who are selling tomatoes in Pretoria Street in Hillbrow, not those that left us with the mine dumps but took the minerals, our gold, our diamond, to England. We respect those. When they come to visit, we say they are tourists. They plundered our resources. We go and camp at Barra-Texering. We chase old women that are selling vegetables because we think they are taking our jobs. Our governments will spend time in a bourgeois parliament to regulate others, regulate what they call small business enterprise, so that other Africans cannot participate. They will say you cannot come and rent a chair in a salon or cut hair, someone's hair under a tree in an African country. We then carry back in power to those who left us with mine dumps and ask for money to campaign as we prepare for elections, and they celebrate that we have received so much aid from England and in other countries, but not demand that our stolen minerals must be returned back to the peoples of Africa. That demand by the Britain's communists says redistribution of and the repatriation of all wealth stolen by the royal family from Britain's former colonies. Indeed, when they stole our wealth, our minerals, our timber, our oil, firstly, they collaborated with some of our monarchies, which we discussed previously, by selling our ancestors into slavery. The reason why we have black people in Europe, in North America, is because our ancestors went there as slaves. And if you believe, since I'm recording this video on a Sunday, if you believe in spirituality, you will know that the spirit of the ancestors is not resting in peace. While you mourn the Queen, while you celebrate her life, if you believe in spirituality, know that the spirit of our ancestors are not resting in peace, because they were taken as slaves, abused in the farming fields in Europe and North America, and died in slavery. And there's no way their spirit will rest in peace when they see you celebrating the life of a royal family that played a key role in taking them into slavery. And one person is not a comrade and doesn't also want to be called a comrade, says to me, Comrade Mabena, why do you want to fight the dead? Referring to the Queen. Why not fight the Chinese who are exploiting our resources in Africa? I must point out that we've had discussions with the Communist Party of China in respect to the treatment of the workers in Zimbabwe by the Chinese business people. Our comrades in the trade union movement in Zimbabwe have been complaining about the treatment of workers by Chinese business people and they forced the removals of villagers by Chinese business people. And indeed, we have engaged directly with the Communist Party of China and they raised these issues. And we're happy that the Communist Party of China is attending to this. Recently, the Chinese ambassador to Zimbabwe spoke openly about this, that there must be an investigation on how Chinese business people in Zimbabwe are treating workers. When workers are abused, we are the first and will always be the first to raise these issues. It doesn't matter who does so. But the Chinese, they've never came to Africa carrying a gun. That's where my colleague is failing to make a distinction. They've never ever came to Africa carrying a gun. They come for opportunities. And when they come to Africa, their first port of call are government offices. They engage governments, the political leadership, and they sign agreements. Something which the colonialists never did. The colonialists came carrying guns. They forced our ancestors into slavery. They fought with us. When they defeated us, they used the laws to move us from our fertile soil. And they took our minerals. And many Africans died in the hands of colonialists. And the royal family in England was central to the colonization of Africa, South America, and elsewhere. And my colleagues want us to forget about all this and say, let us fight Chinese. No. We are not going to fight Chinese. We are going to engage, as we engage, continuously engage with the Communist Party of China, so that those Chinese business people that mistreat workers are called to order. But in some cases, it is our own governments that facilitate the mistreatment of our workers. We have labor laws in our countries. It is the duty of our governments to ensure that every person that invests in our countries adhere to all our labor laws. So it is wrong and very naive, in our view, to say we should not criticize the monarch. Instead, we must fight the Chinese who will not accept that invitation. As I've said, and as I move into conclusion, that indeed, we take seriously the issues raised by workers who work for Chinese firms or companies, and will continue to raise these issues with the Communist Party of China. We must intensify our struggle against imperialism. And if we don't do so, we'll become modern slaves to imperialists. And we know that in the name of liberalism, the imperialists are spreading or dishing out monies to liberal political formation so that they win power and become what Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels define in the Communist Manifesto as just managers, that our governments just become managers of the affairs of the country. They manage the economy on behalf of the so-called foreign investors. This is why we need to build an economy outside the influence of imperialist forces. And the Young Communist League of Britain concludes by saying, down with the monarch. And when we always speak of the monarch, we are always reminded that but you are a relative to a chief, you are a relative to a king. None of us ever decided where and how they should be born. Yes, we have relatives who are chiefs or are traditional leaders. As we transit to a socialist economy, monarchies will be abolished. One colleague of mine who's in Manchester is a member of Triple C. He says, Comrade Mapena has changed. And I say, Comrade, why do you say I've changed? He says, why do you now talk of establishing of a one-party state? I will explain in the next video why it is necessary that we should have a one-party state. I will explain. Otherwise, comrades, please share your views in the comment section. Please circulate the video. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you so much to everyone that has subscribed. And thank you so much for all the comments. We try our level best to read all the comments because they assist us to do more research. So your comments indeed do guide us. Please write your comments in the comment section. Otherwise, I'm Adla Comrades.